Thank you for clicking on the video. Welcome back to the channel. This is a review for the Kirk Franklin documentary. I'm going to drop the link below, drop the link in the description so that you can go and take a gander. If you got 35 minutes to sit with me for the Housewives reviews, then you got 35 minutes to go over there and support Kirk Franklin and his documentary. It's on his channel, by the way. That's why I'm saying support him. Either way, it was great. I enjoyed it. It was very insightful. There were a lot of things I didn't know about Kirk Franklin. And Kirk Franklin, listen, I don't have to explain who he is. I shouldn't. But if I do, because you never know who's watching. This is YouTube. Kirk Franklin is our uncle. That's our uncle down at the church house. Kirk Franklin is a household name for our community for sure. If you are saved, and even if you're not, Kirk Franklin. He was a soundtrack to the 90s, to our childhood, especially if you was church going. So that's just a little backstory on who he is. He's a gospel artist, and he has a new, I want to say it's released. I want to say it's out. His new album is out. It's entitled Father's Day. And this is just giving us a little bit of insight into the process, into what inspired this album. So Kirk Franklin was adopted. I didn't know that. He was adopted by a woman who was, I want to say, an extended family member. But he was adopted by a woman who was in her 60s. And he was about 4, I want to say he said. Grew up very poor and isolated. He didn't have cousins growing up with him, didn't have siblings or anything like that. He was alone. And that's a trauma. That's one of those childhood traumas for him. So not only feeling abandoned by your parents, but now you're being raised in isolation. He made a point that it's very true. When it comes to the white community or non-black community, when children are adopted, and I can't speak for all of them, but we can only speak about our own experiences. And from my own experience in knowing adopted people, in hearing these types of stories within the community, more than likely your biological parent is somewhere down the street, and so he made the point that, I'm sorry to go around and around. My brain is just doing that right now. He made a point that within the white community, when it comes to adoption and that feeling of abandonment, most times they can kind of heal from it because it's a wound. It's a closed wound that leaves a scar. As for black kids who are left with their grandma, you might run into your crackhead mama on the curb. You might see your deadbeat ass daddy across the street with a new family. You might see your mama that just abandoned you at the family function. Because that's how we do it. Like they be around, they just not around for you. And then you're left with, well, why can't I go home with you? Why am I not good enough to be your kid? It makes me think about Kenya Moore and how traumatic that must have been to go to family functions. You want your mother to embrace you, to acknowledge you, and she won't. That is so sad and sick. When it comes to Kenya Moore, I'm sorry to get off topic. When it comes to her, I really want to know, what happened to your mother? What happened to her? Because It has to be something. It's something wrong. It's something wrong. Same with his mother. Because she's just as delusional. She is just as delusional. Kirk Franklin knew one person to be his father. And this person never stepped up. They never, he resented this man, hated this man, all of that for years, his entire life. Up until the man passed away. He thought he could get some closure with the man. The man still ain't give him no closure, because he knew that he was taking some stuff to the grave with him as well. And so his mother, went about that. And then there was a funeral for another family member. And this guy was there. His name is Rick. And he mentioned having dated Deborah, which is Kirk's biological mother. And so people started, speculating like, wait a minute, you dated his mama? You do kind of look like him. You kind of favor him a lot, actually. And so the rumors started to swirl. And so Kirk went on ahead and got a DNA test. Come to find out that man is his father. 99.9999% sure that he's his father. Kirk Franklin had a moment. He had a moment then. He had a moment once he found that out, because the realization that your mother was lying all these years about who your father is. All of that just rushing in. It was emotional. It really was. Of course, now he has to give the man the news, He goes to his mother first to give her the news. And her ass gonna deny it. She gonna just deny science. Scientific evidence. Forensic evidence. She just gonna deny its validity. Girl, what? I was a little perturbed with Auntie too, because the auntie always know. The auntie always holding a secret. Just like Auntie Cisco. Shout out to Funky Dineva. Just like Kenya Moore's auntie. Your sister ain't shit, and you know it. But you think you protecting me. And you protecting her. You honestly, your loyalty is to her. Because that's how you move. Any brother of mine, I would not allow to be a deadbeat. To be, not in their child's life. And you not come around here. Well, we don't enable that. We don't condone that bullshit. Go get your baby. You can come when you bring the baby too. I just don't understand how these siblings just sit by and watch their siblings just be ain't shit parents. And then, in sitting by, you just enabling it because you're not standing up for the child. It's terrible. Her name was Auntie Sandra. He called her. And she already knew. She knew what he was calling for. He called her and he was like, Sandra. She gonna say, who? I'm sorry, who are you calling? And Kirk say, Auntie Sandra. Because Auntie Sandra she still demands respect. Auntie Sandra said, I don't care that you 53. You better put the auntie before it. We ain't on no first name basis. I'm not one of them. Anyway, Auntie Sandra, because we have to do this, they have to do this paternity test twice because she just will not, she just won't believe it. He ends up telling Rick. His reaction is that of a father. He cried. I mean, boo-hoo, because he didn't know. He did not know. He's apologetic and remorseful because 53 years you didn't have me. And what I would have done to know this. Had I known about you, I would have been there. I would have done what I needed to do. Wouldn't be none of that. But he didn't know. He didn't know. Kirk was like, there was no swirlings, no stories about my mama being pregnant or nothing like that. Like, what? He said he didn't know nothing. He didn't hear nothing. He didn't know nothing. And I believe him. His reaction to finding out the truth was was that of someone, like I said, with remorse. But again, mama don't believe it. And so we got to go do a second test. She still denies the second test. Kirk is like, so you're not going to give me this. Like, all jokes aside, because they ain't seen each other in 23 years anyway. And she's like, is this going to change? Is this going to put a strain between us? And Kirk is like, absolutely. You can't even give me the truth. Auntie Sandra finally is like, girl, he just wants the truth. And she's still not going to give it to him. She just sit there and boohoo crying, talking about, I couldn't have you then and I still can't have you. Girl, please. All you got to do is fess up. I'm not understanding. I'm not understanding what these folk be trying to take to the grave. Girl, you slept with that man and y'all had a baby. What, was he married or something? I'm just not understanding why she is still lying. Anyway, in doing all of this, Kirk realized he needed to reach out to his own son. You know, the son that he cussed out, that he's been in the media, you know, negatively. You know, he's been in the media. There have been negative things said about him in the media as it pertains to him and his son. And his son, you know, came over there. And his son got a chip on his shoulder, always got an attitude, because he immediately has an attitude. Immediately. Kirk is being so patient, but he's just giving him his ass to kiss until Kirk gives him that paternity test and shows him what he just found out. Now he got the same reaction. Now he boo-hoo crying. Because all he ever wanted to know was, you know, all you ever wanted was his father and to know who his grandfather was. And so now he has that. And he's happy that Kirk has that as well. They share a moment. I was crying down. I was so emotional watching this. I love to see a black man love on his son. I love it. Like, he was caressing his face. It was nothing weird about it. It just made me feel so warm and fuzzy inside seeing that, because we need it. We need to see that. We need to see, black boys need that. He needed his daddy. He needed, you know, it was like he was like a kid again, just on his knees crying, his daddy down there at his level, caressing his face, giving him a hug, giving him a kiss on the forehead. We need it. It's positive. We need it. Show us that all the time. Show us that all the time. I enjoyed that documentary. I really did, like, thoroughly. Can you tell? I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I hope that you go and take a gander for yourself, because it was great. It was great. And now, you know, when you listen to the album, you're going to know exactly where those raw emotions came from, because there were a lot of times where he was in that studio bawling his eyes out, trying to process it all and trying to get whatever it is up and out, you know, on into the music. So go ahead, Kirk. Go ahead. We rooting for you. I'm rooting for him. I really am. My Aquarius brother. Okay, I'm going to get off of here. Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's Call Me Busby, and I'll chat with you later. Peace and light.